You know what time it is, no matter where you've been. So let's do it again. Listen up and let the sun shine in. We've got
Ghoul Training. Because all ghouls matter.
Hey, Joe, what's your favorite ghost story?
My favorite ghost story. Ooh, I like Sleepy Hollow. That's a good one.
Now, if you're from Eastern Kentucky, it'd be Sleepy Holler. I'd say, Daniel, what's your favorite ghost story?
Well, it's the wrong holiday, but my favorite ghost story is Christmas Carol.
Favorite ghost story? Okay. You're going to ask me what mine is?
What was yours?
Okay. Mine still is Who Stole My Golden Arm? It was on the episode of the Andy Griffith Show where they're around the campfire and Andy, he kind of sets them all up and Barney's on the edge of his seat. And then the punchline, is that, who stole my golden arm? And then everybody jumps, even Barney then was jumping to the campfire. So I've actually used that one a lot with like little kids and like at camp and stuff like that. And it's my son, and now he's 17, and really more him and my daughter, but he's heard it so much. He's watching me set so many little kids up. He just kind of now sits in the corner and just I can't look at him when I'm doing it, but
that sounds like a really disarming story.
Disarming, yes. Who stole my golden arm? I've actually made it my own, and I can't tell it as good as Andy, but I'm pretty close, I think. Of course, we know that this is, when this will be released, is close to Halloween. This is our special first. I was thinking this is our first special edition, I think.
Yeah, I think it's our first theme show.
First theme show.
It's just a treat for our dear listener.
Oh, boy. I got a feeling the puns are just going to keep on rolling.
Well, can I ask one more question before we jump in this? What's your favorite Halloween candy?
Favorite Halloween candy? Well, you talking like any candy you could get trick-or-treating
right
or one
now,
only available?
If you could snap your finger right now.
Well, I'm going to win a lot of votes with this. I like the little Reese's Cup pumpkins.
That's right, because don't you remember I wanted to watch peanut butter being made that time? Remember that?
You did?
Yeah. But
yeah, right.
Classic Soul Training moment.
What's your favorite Halloween candy?
I like chocolate that has something crunchy or crispy in it. It's like a Crunch Bar or a Kit Kat or something like that.
Well, my admission is I'm what Joe said. I have an addiction to like Reese cups, and one of the things I love about Reese cups is
Reese cups. You said.
They say Reese or Reese's. What is it? Reese.
Well, the package says Reese's.
Reese's. I say Reese's, but what I love about them is they're always on the front end of the holiday season. They have Christmas trees, and then they have the large ones for springtime, with the Easter,
right? And
then for Halloween, so they come in, but they're always ahead of everybody else.
Those are my wife's favorites. All those because they have the smooth edges on them, whereas the normal cups have those hard edges, which I like the hard edges, but she likes the smooth.
You can even get them in a pound size.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean, and
that's a lot of peanut butter.
I could get off on the Reese's. Do you say Reese's or Reese's? Is it tomato or tomato?
I think it's one of those things.
One of those, yeah. But they even from my birthday one year got me my own Reese's birthday cake. But anyway,
wow,
that's my favorite candy line. So I like.
It doesn't matter how you say it. Reese's by any other name still tastes sweet.
It does. And it also still makes for a good ghost story. And a lot of people do not realize we have demons and we have zombies and we have some exorcism taking place in Scripture. We're going to kind of jump into that a little bit today.
Some spooky things that when you think about it in the context of spookiness, there are some spooky things that happen.
There are spooky things. Maybe we can have a spirited discussion about them.
I hope we can.
Number 4, I think.
Are you keeping the dad joke tracker?
I think we're on 4 or 5.
We're only 4 minutes into the episode.
That's true.
Does he have his own like Google sheet that you use to kind of keep his his dad joke tracker?
We could do it.
Well, we're going to jump in real quick to 1 Samuel chapter 27. And the entire text is verse 3 down through verse 25. We're not going to read all of that, but it just happens to have 3 parts. And we're going
it's chapter 28.
Yeah, it's chapter 28. Let's set it up a little bit.
I'm sorry, 28. I'm sorry. I was thinking about Reese cups. Sorry, 1 Samuel chapter 28, beginning in verse 3. And you can go ahead and set it up while I'm thinking.
Yeah, so here is the scene where King Saul visits the witch at Endor. And so, as we're thinking about spooky things, you've got a witch here. There's a seance. There's an appearance of a dead prophet. Anyway, so Samuel the prophet is dead at this point. There's a big battle that's going to be coming up the next day. Saul's feeling really anxious about it. He's nervous, and God has just gone silent on him. He's been searching for some word from God, and God's not talking to him anymore. And he's just completely giving him the silent treatment. So anyway, Saul is desperate for some sort of word, so he comes to this witch trying to find some word from God, and so the witch is going to try to contact the dead spirit of Samuel, and that brings us up to where we're at. And so we'll pick up our dramatic reading, if you will.
Yeah, this is going to be the first and possibly last Soul Training Playhouse. And so we'll explain the characters. Daniel, who you be portraying.
I'll be King Saul.
I will be portraying the woman, the medium.
Please do a woman's voice.
I can't.
It would be great. The
I'm
listener
just
wants
too masculine. It's not in me.
I would agree with that. He's middle linebacker masculine. That's awesome.
Okay.
And then Alan will be Samuel.
All right, so here we pick up our scene. Saul has gone in disguise to find this woman because witchcraft is against the law, so she's in hiding, but there's enough word out, evidently, that he's able to find her. So anyway, here he is. Please conduct a seance for me, and bring up for me the one whom I shall name to you.
Look, you know what Saul has done, how he's cut off the mediums and the spiritists from the land. Why then do you lay a snare for my life to cause me to die?
As the Lord lives, no punishment shall come to you for this thing.
Whom shall I bring up for you?
Bring up Samuel for me.
And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried out with a loud voice, which I'm not going to do at this time.
Just insert a shriek.
And she says, Why have you deceived me? For you are Saul.
Do not be afraid. What do you see?
I saw a spirit ascending out of the earth.
What's his form?
An old man is coming up, and he's covered with a mantle.
All right, so Saul now perceives that it's Samuel.
And Samuel says,
Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?
I'm deeply distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God has departed from me and does not answer me any more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I've called you, that you may reveal to me what I should do.
So why do you ask me, seeing the Lord has departed from you and has become your enemy? And the Lord has done for himself as he spoke by me. For the Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hand and given it to your neighbor David, because you did not obey the voice of the Lord, nor execute his fierce wrath upon Amalek. Therefore the Lord has done this thing to you this day. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with you into the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. The Lord will also deliver the army of Israel into the hand of the Philistines.
And scene.
and scene. Cut.
So that's Soul Training Playhouse right there.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the last one.
I feel like I was doing popcorn in elementary school. Like, popcorn, Daniel.
I remember playing that. Yeah, so anyway, this is a really bizarre scene, and it's interesting in a lot of ways. So some things that we would want to note about it regarding kind of the spirited focus of this episode is, I guess, kind of the question that the listener would have is, was this a real witch? Is this what she did? What's going on here? And so I would respond to that no, she's normally a fraud. There's a number of reasons would say that. One, well, she's in hiding here because this kind of stuff is illegal. Why do you think it's illegal?
I think it's like a lot of things because it's infringing upon somebody's cash flow. somewhere at some point.
Yeah, it's a scam.
It is a scam. Yeah, it's a scam. And there's a lot of, there've always been illusionists or people that would take advantage of those that are desperately seeking answers. And that's what she is doing normally.
But I want to know how you know it's a scam.
Okay, I'm glad you asked that. All right, so the first clue here is that she is more surprised than anybody when Samuel actually shows up. She shrieks. You know, she's not expecting. This is not how these seances normally go for her. They normally don't have a real spirit show up, or else she wouldn't be so surprised that it happens. So
and this is a lady that's made a living doing this, so she kind of knew what to expect, and that could have been why, she made sure it wasn't Saul.
Yeah, sure, exactly. And another clue there is when the spirit does show up, she doesn't really know what to do with that. She doesn't recognize it for what it is. One is, we read from the New King James just a minute ago, and it translated that as spirit. I think the New American Standard says something about a divine figure or something like that. She uses a word, the Hebrew word Elohim, which is the Hebrew word for God. A lot of times, like we use God, it can be big G God or little g God. She thinks this is a God that has...
That's how English Standard translates it. And this is we're speaking of verse 13, and the woman said, "I see a God coming up out of the earth." Okay,
yeah. So she thinks it's some sort of deity that has appeared. So she's not expecting actually the soul, the disembodied soul of anybody.
And I think about this verse 13. Here it says, she says, "I saw a spirit." Mm-hmm. So it's kind of it goes back to, I guess for me it provides a visual. Like you said, it wasn't what she expects. I guess I'm seeing I'm thinking what I'm thinking that she saw or thought she saw.
Right. Yeah. So whatever it is, this is out of the norm for her.
And impressive.
Yeah. She's really, really distraught by this, which shows that this hasn't normally happened for her. Why did it happen this time? Why did God allow Samuel to show up? It fit his purposes. That time. It's not the only time we've seen God send souls back. Think about the Mount of Transfiguration, right? God sends Moses and Elijah back to interact with Jesus and some of the disciples there. So that's not shocking to us because we know that souls continue to exist after this life.
I think we do have to mention in verse 15 how annoyed Samuel was that he was brought back to have this conversation.
Samuel was annoyed. Why are you disturbing me by bringing me up? He didn't want to be there.
Saul's problems weren't problems to Samuel at this point.
No.
He had moved on.
Right.
And so he was annoyed to have to be brought back to deal with earthly things again. Is what it seems like.
Yeah, he dealt with Saul enough while he was living.
Sure.
And I don't know. And of course, the little hamster that lives between my ears sometimes on that little wheel is always turning, and I think about, not very fast, by the way, anymore, but as I listen to you talk about thinking about the problems of the world and him being annoyed, and then you made a comment just a few minutes ago that we know that there is awareness after death, and I'm not going to go into that, but I think about Luke 16, the rich man and Lazarus, 19 through 31, and for me, we get to peek behind the curtain, you might say, and we see the conversation that takes place and the exchange, and the whole point of why I even bring that up is I just think about it, the importance of the reminder that we need to make sure that we are following in step with the gospel, what we should be doing, and obedience, and also living the best life that we can, because there is awareness afterwards, and we have to.
Your family's still back on earth,
right? And you have to think about, rich man and Lazarus, which one do you want to be? So that's all I wanted to say about that.
Yeah, and bringing up that story, we didn't actually tell the story. The listener may or may not be familiar, but here in that account, Lazarus has gone to, he's died and he's gone to torment, and there he is looking. One, he would like to have some relief for himself. That's not happening, so he begs to be able to go back and tell his brothers, to warn them
To
about
pull a
this.
Samuel.
Yeah, to pull a Samuel, yeah. He wants to be able to go back and warn people so they don't come. And he's told that, they have Moses, they have the prophets, let them hear them. If they don't listen to Moses and the prophets, they're not going to be persuaded even if someone rises from the dead. So that would underscore the point that it is not the norm for people to come back.
Yeah, that was the connection I wanted to try to parallel. I wanted to make to.
Yeah, so we're definitely not arguing. I don't know how you feel about Ghost, but we're not making trying to say that the Bible teaches that there are ghosts walking around.
No, everything we're going to talk about tonight kind of seems to be isolated events.
They do, and we're being a little tongue in cheek as we relate it to. I think earlier Alan mentioned the word zombies. We're not literally saying that they're zombies, and we're talking about spirits and things, and again, being a little fun with it, a little tongue-in-cheek. But we are trying to look at what the Bible says about some of these creepier things.
Yeah. Spooky. It's that time of year.
And I think most of the time people don't want to talk about that, and from a fictional standpoint with movies. And personally, I do not like scary movies. I do not. I used to try to watch scary movies when I was younger. I didn't like them. They just made my life worse. Mm-hmm. I couldn't sleep.
That's one of those things. Fear, of all the emotions God has given us, I probably enjoy fear the least. I don't get it when people. And I've got good friends that are all about scary movies, but I'm with you. I like a good happy comedy or something that puts me in a good mood.
Yeah, I look to enjoy a movie, and it's fine if you like scary movies. But yeah, I've never really sought to create fear in myself.
Yeah, if I'm going to do that, I'll just turn on the news. That's what I'll do.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of that is real.
Yeah, so
not all of it, but a lot of it.
But that's, I guess, to further your point back to the text, is that's the only time a lot of folks want to have those discussions is around this time of year, and they think that Hollywood came up with this concept, but not so. So
you mentioned zombies. Do you want to take the quote zombie text right fast and dive into that, Daniel, or you want to look some more at Samuel?
That's fine. So I think what was being alluded to earlier with zombies is somebody coming back from the dead. Now, a legitimate zombie, you're thinking about somebody that is not come back in their full sense, is just sort of a reanimated body. That's
tongue in cheek.
Tongue in cheek. Yeah, we're absolutely not saying that there's really zombies, but people have come back from the dead.
Well, our entire religion is based upon that.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's right. The resurrection of Jesus is the central fact of our faith.
And we always say death, burial, resurrection.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's the truth. But that we always highlight that.
We do. That's the thing that everything pivots on. That confirms the identity of Jesus. It gives us hope for what's going to happen to us after this life, and that there is something better waiting for us after this life.
Validates everything.
But Jesus certainly is not the only one to come back from the dead, although he is the only one to come back from the dead never to die again. So that's something that is, so he actually conquered death. These others, like Lazarus, like Dorcas, several others.
Well, he also came back on his own accord.
Yeah. Nobody raised him
back.
Right. But you do have the kind of a creepy, unnerving, startling event that happens in Matthew chapter 27, verse 53. Now, this is written in the context of the crucifixion and the death of Jesus. And it says, and coming out of the tombs after his... let me back up. Verse 52, yeah. And the tombs were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep, which fallen asleep is is an idiom that is often used for those that have died, especially for the saved that have died. The tombs were open, and many of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the tombs after his resurrection, they entered the holy city and appeared to many. All right, so you got a situation there where, as Jesus crashes back out of the gates of death, it's almost like he crashes through the gates and leaves them on the hinges a little bit, and you've got some
more
saints
people
that
sneak through.
It's leak back out of there. But what would that have been like to have some dead loved ones that show up?
And I wonder, everything's done for a reason. I wonder what those folks had to say to their loved ones alive. If they proclaimed Christ, but there was a reason that this happened. We're not given the reason. We can speculate, but there was a reason. I would imagine some good came from it somewhere.
Yeah, I imagine so. It would be really interesting to have a conversation with him.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
Tell me about it. What's it like?
And why are you here?
Yeah. Why are you here? Where have you been? Sure, you've been dead. That's a likely story.
Why didn't you visit my tomb more often? No, I don't know if that sort of thing happened or not. Probably not.
You never call anymore. Anyway, yeah. So that's fun.
Yeah, that's good, Daniel. I was just laughing.
Okay. All right. So also in keeping with our theme, we talked about the witch at Endor. Let's mention another fortune teller, as it were, in Acts chapter 16. We have somebody that appears that she's making a living off of fortune telling. And I don't know what type of fortune telling she's doing, if she's actually talking about things that happen in the future, or if she's just revealing hidden knowledge or whatever. But this is when Paul, I started to say Saul again, but Paul, his Greek name, is he's in Philippi, and he's going around preaching as he does. In verse 16, it says, "It happened as we were going to the place of prayer, a slave girl having a spirit of divination met us, who was bringing her masters much profit by fortune telling. Following after Paul and us, she kept crying out, saying, 'These men are bondservants of the Most High God, who are proclaiming to you the way of salvation.' And she continued doing this for many days. But Paul was greatly annoyed, and turned and said to the spirit, 'I command you in the name of Jesus Christ to come out of her.' And it came out at that very moment." All right, so after that, her masters who had been profiting from her get really mad. It results in Paul and his companions being thrown in jail. But anyway, so Alan, what do you make of this this woman that has been fortune telling with demon possession?
Well, what I think is there again, I think it's in consistent conflict with what Paul's teaching, his message, and I think that obviously catches his attention, and we see it's going to be addressed, but also we see the end result of someone being led to Christ when Paul and Silas are imprisoned, as we see more conversations being taken place, a family being baptized. So, for me, I think about not on the level of maybe from I guess with the theme of our episode, I'm always thinking about what opportunity can come from challenges. And I see the opportunity that comes from this challenge of this girl.
It certainly an opportunity does come there. And you get also, there's in demon possession in Scripture, which I think we had an episode on demons and probably have talked a little bit about this in the past, but demon possession is this phenomenon that seems to occur during a pretty limited time period. You don't really see it in the Old Testament. You don't really see it after the first century.
Kind of like Joseph, it's real isolated.
Yeah, it's real isolated, but it does happen, and it is legitimate there in the first century. But whenever the demons encounter Paul, whenever they encounter Jesus, there's no question about their authority. this, like you think about the time that Jesus, I think it's in Mark chapter 5, cast out this legion of an army of demons that is inhabiting this poor soul. There's never any doubt about who's in charge there. Jesus shows up, and it's him against a legion of demons, and they don't try to attack Jesus. They don't say, we have you outnumbered. They only are. They ask for his mercy. They ask him to send him into this herd of swine. But there's never any doubt about Jesus' authority. And I think that one of the reasons that demon possession was allowed to happen during this time period was to establish the authority that Jesus has in every realm. He has authority over death. He has authority over nature. He calms the storms. He has authority over sickness and stuff as he heals people. His authority is so complete and unquestioned. So having the demons here that occasionally inhabited people gave a chance for his authority in the spiritual realm also to be demonstrated. Hopefully this won't come across too flippantly, but it's almost like the demons are sort of like the Washington Generals. They were there.
I remember them.
You remember the one? That's the team that their whole purpose in existence was to play the Harlem Globetrotters so the Globetrotters could show off against them. Right? They were not going to win the game. That's not what they were there for. So the demons provide this foil for Jesus and his disciples to be able to demonstrate their authority.
It's almost like in Mark 5, like you're talking about, it's almost like the demons know that too. Mm-hmm. Because Jesus didn't walk up to them and introduce himself. They saw him coming from afar, and they said in verse 7 of Mark 5, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." They recognized who he was and what he could do to them without him ever saying a word to them.
Yeah, that's right. And just like this girl in Philippi, she recognizes who Paul and the others are and that they're teaching the truth. Similarly, over a couple more chapters in what is it, Acts chapter 19, when we see these 7 sons of Sceva, that's sort of an entertaining demon possession. Is there? Can you say that? Can there be an entertaining demon possession?
We can hear. Yeah, we can hear.
We can't hear. All right, so let me just pick up there in verse 13 maybe. But also some of the Jewish exorcists who went from place to place attempted to name over those who had evil spirits the name of the Lord Jesus, saying, "I adjure you by Jesus whom Paul preaches." 7 sons of one Sceva, a Jewish priest, were doing this. And the evil spirit answered and said to them, "I recognize Jesus, and I know about Paul, but who are you?" And the man in whom was the evil spirits leaped on them and subdued all of them and overpowered them, so that they fled out of the house naked and wounded. And this became known to all, both Jew and Greeks, who lived in Ephesus, and fear fell upon them all, and the name of the Lord, Jesus, was being magnified, which that's the point, that the name of the Lord would be magnified.
I think another point is you should know your place.
You should know your place.
Place in life.
That's right.
If you haven't been given the power of exorcism, it might not go so well.
Right.
And I think, know your role, too.
And again, we've talked about, these are isolated events. This is not going on right now. Right. These were things that happened back then. I suspect if it were going on right now with, you see on TV and things, folks doing exorcisms.
The televangelist.
It kind of makes me,
That's
it kind of makes me think that if there was anything to it now, we would have this kind of result.
Right.
Not the kind that Paul had. So it's the folks doing it now, that's fraudulent too.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, it is. And the only thing I kind of want to say, my last little contribution, is I had written the word down as Daniel was talking, just authority. And for me, even though that these are isolated incidences, and I don't watch scary movies and all those things for the time of the year, but what does kind of tie it all up for me is Jesus' authority over all the things, elements of nature, and even from a encountering and dealing with demons and all those things, I still go back to, for me, Mark 15, and we won't read that, but verse 27 through 41, when Jesus is on the cross, that he establishes his authority of who he is, and his authority of who he is he endured. So for me, that's what kind of gives me calmness even during a scary time of the year, is that God's in control and that Jesus has all authority, and I need to be, to the best of my ability, in lockstep with Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I was. My little boy was having a hard time sleeping last night. He was scared, as kids get sometimes. And the advice that I gave him, the advice that I usually give, is what I would always do when I would be creeped out or scared. Is I would sing psalms. I would sing songs about Jesus, spiritual songs, and try to focus on Him, because I know that He's in control. And that when my focus is there, that gives me peace. And I think that's maybe something for our dear listeners. We're, I guess, delving back into more serious spiritual things is the source of peace, the source of authority, the source of everything good is Jesus, and let's let our focus be there.
All right, very good. I think that's the end of our first theme show, if you can call it a theme show, and the end of the Soul Training players. Unfortunately, I don't know. We'll see how the feedback is.
Yeah, I do a pretty good turkey. I don't think Reese's makes turkey-shaped Reese cup. I don't think they make Thanksgiving-shaped. Reese cups. Oh,
you want to do a Thanksgiving episode?
I do. I do. I would love to do that, because we can talk about turkey-shaped Reese cups.
Well, dear listener, we need you to help save the Soul Training players and give Big Show Joe some feedback about how much he liked the playhouse there, and which hopefully you did. I don't know. Maybe you hated it. If you hated it, give him feedback about that too. We won't do it anymore. Anyway, whatever the case, like us, give us a 5-star rating, leave a review, just tell your friends about it. We hope that this time is a blessing for you. It's a blessing for us. We enjoy spending this time together and are glad to have you as a part of this as well. So thank you to Big Show. Thank you to Alan. Thank you to the elders at the South Green Street Church of Christ for making this possible. And until next time, keep soul training.
Soul training. Time to practice what you preach. Ooh, yeah. Yes, we do. We've got soul training.
To learn more, you can email us at soultrainingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can write to us, P.O. Box 503, Glasgow, Kentucky, 42142. That's Soul Training.
Because all